Hi, welcome. I'm Chris Riley. And first of all, I just want to thank you for your interest in learning more about the Brotherhood of Caring. It's sometimes, as men, it takes a lot to kind of open up to this type of support, and we kind of get that. We're a group of men from a variety of backgrounds and ages, and we're at all different points on the cancer journey. And you may be a husband or a fiance, a partner, a son, a brother, a friend, but you're also a caregiver. And what we share in common is that we have a loved one who's experienced a gynecologic cancer. And while you know how hard it is for her to go from diagnosis and treatments and chemo, plus all the relational and emotional issues that come with cancer, what you may not know or fully appreciate is just how hard it is on you, the male caregiver, as well as others in her life. And cancer is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And like any athlete, athletes need a coach and they need teammates, in this case, brothers who are there to kind of hold you up when you're having a hard time standing and to listen when you need an ear of somebody who truly understands kind of what you're going through, what you're experiencing. And the Brotherhood of Caring offers that. We meet about once a month, plus any relationships or contacts that you form from the group that you want to nurture outside the group. And there's no charge or fee involved. Usually there's a speaker with a short discussion following that kind of help us apply, better learn what we've and apply what we've learned, and kind of help us through this cancer journey. Plus, there's a lot of time for guys just to talk about what's going on with them. You can choose to speak or not speak. It's up to you. There's no pressure, no judgment. But really, the best way to learn about the Brotherhood of Caring is to listen to those who are involved. So there's some upcoming short videos from guys who are involved in the Brotherhood of Caring, so that you can listen to what it's meant to them and how it's impacted their trip through this cancer journey and help support them. So hopefully you'll find them to be useful. There's the full interview on each of these guys available on the Brotherhood of Caring YouTube site. So you can always kind of look at the longer version of what they've had to share as well. I look forward to meeting you and welcoming you personally to the Brotherhood of Caring. Thanks.
And as people said to me a lot back in, friends and all, when this first happened, before we even started this program, was, what about you? How are you doing? And, I guess I had never thought about it because I just automatically went into, well, I'm going to do whatever I can to take care. I'm not going to make plans. I'll make plans, but I can change them very easily. Nothing's etched in stone. And, I did that and I still do that. But, the fact is that I'm not alone. And when we started this, it was just to get some of the men together and with our thoughts and how we felt and what we deal with and how we take things or, what we do to overcome things or how can we be helping so that I don't go crazy, because this is, it's been 3 years and we've got to rough spots over the last 3 years. And, now it just comes and goes. But today we're trying to enjoy as much time as we can together to do things that we've always done and things that we want to be able to do, with family and with friends and, living every day as if, just like we always did, like you don't think about what's going to happen in the future. You just think about what's going to happen today, just living in today. And, and I don't know if I would have thought about all that if it wasn't for the Brotherhood of Caring that were us guys. And there's some sons too that come of with their moms and, how we have come to being very independent and still being independent, but learning how to become caregivers and being there for somebody else.
I didn't know anything about the program until, if it weren't for a flyer and somebody suggesting I consider going. And I didn't realize the benefit of the program until I actually got into it. And the people there and the topics and the programming is totally worth checking out. And if you're a caregiver, in my instance, I am the son of a survivor. And for my father, we didn't realize the value of the program until we went. And I'm very thankful we found the Brotherhood of Caring. And
wanted to get my father and myself some support. And I wanted to find a support group because I felt like, or I just had this intuition that, you know, I needed support. My dad needed support, and that it would be difficult for others to understand what, you know, we were going through if they haven't been through it themselves. You know, just looking around, you may or may not find other people who are, you know, battling this disease. But fortunately, we found this group, and it was a really surprise that it actually existed, because I knew there were support groups for my mom, and I knew that there were general family support groups, but usually, like, you know, the needs of men are usually, you know, not always front and center or on the radar. And so I was really surprised that, you know, they had a group like this. And so I was really grateful that it was there. And I remember walking in the first day, and you know, I was wondering how I was going to fit in as a son, because you know, most men are spouses or loved ones or partners. But I found that there were men of all walks of life, you know, all relations. You know, there were brothers, there were sons, there were husbands, and you know, it was really fascinating to see everyone's story. And I think that's what has been really powerful for me, was, you know, coming in and seeing that, you know, regardless of one's background, whatever situations they were dealing with in their own personal lives, where they're from, there was just certain common challenges that, you know, all of the men were going through. And I found a lot of the other men had these same issues, or just even the shock of it all. And I think that was the most powerful thing for me, was normalizing what we were going through, and realizing that, you know, we weren't really alone, and learning how other people were coping. You know, and I was really touched how people shared from the heart, people shared openly. And, you know, you saw men from all different stages, from, you know, just having gone through the diagnosis process to, you know, being in surveillance, and, you know, some men who were even, you know, there even after their wife had, you know, transitioned. And so it was really, you know, if you have questions about what's next, you know, this is, you know, you can learn a lot of that just by listening. And I found that really helpful, just to have some perspective.
Tell you first off, I've never ever been one for groups, especially sharing groups. I've always been a private person, and I've kept my thoughts to myself, and of course, like a lot of men, kept my feelings to myself. But of course, as we know, this diagnosis of gynecological cancer is very earth-shattering to us all. And I felt the need after a certain time of coping with this and my wife's disease that I needed some support. I was pretty amazed at that some of the men were opening up so much that it tugged at my heart, and I opened up, and I came away from that meeting feeling that I needed to be a member of this group. So I started going to the groups, and met the other men, all in different circumstances. We're all different. Wives were at different stages, or not wives necessarily, but the loved ones were at different stages of the journey. And immediately there was a bond of sharing, even though we come from different backgrounds, had never met each other. There was a bond because we were all in the same boat. We'd been through it from the beginning of the diagnosis, and we were at various stages. Our loved ones were at various stages. And after our very first proper meeting, once again, I came away with a sense that this is a group that I could actually be in, because I felt that I was able to share my feelings. And through the time that I've been in the group, sometimes I'll go and say basically nothing, and just listen to the other men and hear their stories, hear their feelings, and most of it touched me, even listening to them. Other times I would go, I would be, I would have the need to share my feelings, and that was a very good experience for me, to be able to let out my feelings and have people who would listen with no judgment, and also some of their stories and advice would help me as I sat back and reflected on it. It's one of the best things that I've ever done, is to open up in the group. And as we all know, the journey is very hard. It's hard for our loved ones, but it's also hard for us, and we have to look after ourselves. And
as her situation became more limited and her outlook was more difficult, and her symptoms became more challenging, you know, obviously the demands for me became emotionally and physically more challenging. And I was doing it pretty much on my own, not without help from family and friends, not without help from a great community around us. We had that, and that was lucky for us. But in the day-to-day, when the person you love is facing anxiety, fear, physical challenges, difficult symptoms, the problems and cycles of chemotherapy and other issues, you're the one who's there for them. And so when I was introduced to the other men in this group, we didn't have much in common besides the fact that the woman that we were very close to was struggling with ovarian cancer. Spouses, siblings, parents, and so forth. And we've come to know a bit about each other's lives outside of that basic fact, but it's basically been essentially sharing experiences. And it's been remarkable to me how much comes to the surface, how people work through things, how articulate and present people are. It's not a formal therapy session. There is some prompting, but not a lot of formal guidance. And the people in it have very different backgrounds in terms of speaking and expression, and how much they frame emotional or health related or practical topics. But I've found everybody in the group to have just talking about their own experience and what kind of concerns and problems and challenges and issues they face, what's going on with their partner or spouse or mother, to have so much revealing, resonating, insightful kinds of reflections, that it's been a tremendous bonding experience. It's meant a lot to me in terms of understanding how other people are getting through this kind of process. It's also meant a tremendous amount of, I don't know, validation, I guess you would just call it, when somebody expresses their own concerns or apprehensions or problems, and it resonates or jibes completely with what you've experienced and what you've gone through. And really grateful, appreciative. There's been humor. There's been some light moments, but there's also been a lot of really profound and really lifting sorts of experiences. And I've come to really regard the group and the moderators and the organizers and all the people involved very highly and with great appreciation and great affection.
What does the Brotherhood of Caring mean to me? I first go back and think about when I guess when I found the group and I approached to look for something for myself. It was when my wife was really sick. There was just so many things that I was doing as a caregiver for her, and it felt natural doing it, but there wasn't the same level of support that I wasn't sure where I could get it from. And I remember telling my wife that, this is something I want to look into, and it's a whole bunch of guys that are in a similar situation, and this, I just think it's going to be good, and it'll allow me to kind of branch out a little bit and just kind of see, what other folks are going through and what that means to them, especially in that caregiver kind of situation, in that role. And I remember how supportive she was, and she thought it was a great idea because I was spending so much time taking care of her, that she was, in her frail state, even still asking how I was going to take care of myself. And so this was something that we both thought was going to be a great thing for myself to do. And I had her support. I recall that this group existed here, and people that had, other men that had gone through similar situations were available, and at least had an ear that was listening and willing to hear me out, or at least to empathize, I guess, in a way of what I'm going through. And so I found myself coming back into the group, and it was, one of the first times that I really discussed what had happened. And each time that I've come back to it, realizing that there's so much that I gained from it, and there's just so much in that ability to share. And you can share as little or as much as you want, but to find that there's so many things that are similar, that it's actually quite affirming that this path that I'm going through, there are other people who also understand it, who also get it, who also feel what I'm feeling, who have the same, whether it's a confusion or I have a question or there's an answer. And then you just got the resources that come along with it, and everyone that's available to help, whether it's speakers or it's the organizers or it's just another brother that is able to be there and assist. So for me, it's been a support before and after, but it's, in that transition, it's just something that I can turn to, and a place where I feel I'm growing more and more comfortable in finding the answers that I didn't even know I have questions to.